Hey, Algebra 1. So if you've found yourself here, it is because you are looking for an explanation of one of the problems from the study guide so that you can properly prepare for your test. So I'm going to do out all of the problems of the answer key, and you can fast forward to whichever problem that you need. And if you want to watch the whole thing, then watch the whole thing. If not, just look at the ones you need. Make sure that you make your corrections on paper and submit them with the Desmos activity on Google Classroom. So first problem we start off with is a literal equation, and it's telling us to solve for y. So the way I'm going to do that is I need to get the y by itself. So in order to do that, I need to move the x term. So I'm going to subtract 8x from both sides of my equal sign in order to move it over. 8x minus 8x goes to 0, so that goes away, and I'm left with negative 2y equals negative 8x plus 20. I cannot combine those. Those are not like terms. My other option here, so I'll sort of write both and work through both. So you can write it that way, or you could have negative 2y equals 20 minus 8x. Both are acceptable. Just make sure your signs are consistent. And then in order to get the y by itself, all I need to do is divide by negative 2 for each term. Again, make sure you're keeping track of your signs. Negative 8 divided by negative 2 is positive 4, so this is 4x. 20 divided by negative 2 minus 10. Or if I do it in the other order, that becomes y equals negative 10 plus 4x. Both are the same, both are acceptable. And that is solving that literal equation. On the next page, we have another literal equation. Here, this one, I'm going to copy and paste this. So we have 4a plus 4b equals 12, and they want us to solve for b. So here I want to get b by itself. So I'm going to, again, move this a term to the other side of my equal sign by subtracting it because it's positive. The opposite of positive is negative. So this goes to 0, and I'm left with 4b equals 12 minus 4a, or again, you can write it in the other order, negative 4a plus 12. Either is fine. And then you are going to divide each term by 4 so that you can simplify properly. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. Negative 4 divided by 4 is either minus a or minus 1a, whichever you choose is fine. You don't need the 1, so in one of them I'll write the 1, in the other I won't. Again, either of these answers are perfectly fine. The order doesn't matter as long as the signs are the same. Again, with or without the a is fine. My next literal equation asks me to explain, right? So it says your friend is having a hard time solving the literal equation 300 plus 3y equals x for y. So they want you to solve it for y. Explain in words to your friend how you would solve the equation for y. So here's my y stuck in here. So if I was talking to my friend here, I would say first subtract 300 to move it to the other side of the equal sign. And get 3y equals x minus 300, or 3y equals negative 300 plus x Either is fine. I like x minus 300. The second step would be then divide each term by 3 to get y by itself. And you'd get y equals x over 3 minus 300 over 3. And then you can simplify in the same step, but I would be explicit and just say step 3 would be to simplify, which would end up being y equals x over 3 minus 100. Remember, when you explain, it means use words. You can solve the equation out on the side, but explain really means use words to vocalize what the steps are to solve. One more literal equation. So it says Ohm's law of electricity states that V equals IR, where V is the voltage, I is the current, and R represents the resistance. And then it says rewrite the equation to solve for I. So I'm starting with V equals IR. In this problem, I and R are being multiplied. So we must divide to solve. It wants us to solve for I, so I'm going to divide both sides by R to get V over R equals I. If you turned that around, it's I equals V over R. We can't use subtraction here because there is no addition in the equation. We only use subtraction to undo addition, and we don't have addition, so we can't do that. There's a second part to this problem. So it says if V is 220 volts and R is 4 ohms, what is the value for I? So I'm going to use the equation I got in part A because that's what it says. So I got I equals V over R. And then I'm going to sub in my values. So I equals 220 over 4. And then we can use our Desmos calculator to solve that for us. It's 55. So I is 55. So those are some literal equations, which you will see problems similar to that on your test. Now we're going to solve the equation. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste this problem into the box. Yours already has it. I don't know, for some reason when I do this, it disappears. But there we go. So to solve this, I'm going to distribute first. That is the best case scenario. Get rid of those parentheses and distribute. So I'm at 7x minus 21 minus 4x equals 3x minus 21. You have a couple options here. My best bet is to combine like terms on one side of the equal sign. So this gets me 3x minus 21 equals 3x minus 21. You might be able to recognize at this point that since you have the same thing on both sides of the equal sign, it is infinite solutions. However, if you don't recognize that yet, my advice would be to subtract 3x from both sides so that you end up with negative 21 equals negative 21, which also still implies infinite solutions, right? So same thing on both sides of the equal sign. means infinite solutions. Right, so you want to show some form of work before you select that answer, right? It says show all your work. So you really need to show at least up to this point. We then have a word problem here. So it says the senior class is trying to raise money for prom and decide to have a bake sale. The senior class spent $120. When you spend $120, and we're talking about making money, then it's going to be negative. So we need to remember that. And it says each baked good will be sold for $3.25. And they want to make a minimum. So the least amount they want to make is $4.50, so greater than or equal to, right? Minimum is greater than or equal to. So define our variable. Well, we're talking about how many baked goods, so we could use any variable. I'm going to use x equals number of baked goods. Write our inequality. So we've got our negative 120 because that's how much money is being spent. And then they're going to make, so they're going to add 325 for every baked good. And they want that to be greater than or equal to $450. We're going to solve that inequality. So I'm going to copy and paste it below. To solve, I'm going to add 120 to both sides. I really want you showing all of your steps on the test. In the event that you make a minor error like this, I can give you more partial credit. So that's going to be 570. And then I divide both sides by 3.25. So you get x is greater than or equal to, and I'm going to put this in my calculator, so 570 divided by 3.25 gets me 175.38 and change. This says first round your answer to the nearest tenth, so that's going to be 175.4. And then it says round again to the nearest whole number that makes sense for the problem. It says x should be greater than or equal to 175.4. So I'm going to round up to 176. Right, so we're rounding up here because of the greater than or equal to. If it was less than or equal to, we'd round down, but we're rounding up because it says greater than or equal to. So x is greater than or equal to 176 is really my true answer here. And the reason I have to round is because the word problem talks about baked goods, and I can't sell half a baked good. So it says, what does your solution mean in the context of the problem, or AKA answer the question. So how many baked goods do they need to sell? They need to sell 176 or more, right? Greater than or equal to baked goods. If you just have 176, it's not correct. You need the or more to take into the consideration the greater than or equal to. On your number line, we can't sell half of a baked good. You either sell the baked good or you don't. So I'm going to use closed circles up from 176. Right? Can't have or can't sell half a baked good. So whole numbers only. This is only for word problems. If you have a regular inequality and it comes out to a decimal, you don't need to do this. If there's no word problem, you just do a regular number line. All right, here it said, asked you to put the steps in order. I did put them in order. This is the correct order. You could have also switched step 2 and step 3. That really wouldn't have made a difference. So this said to distribute the 1/6, that would be our first step, and that would get us 3x plus 4 equals 9 plus x. And then again, you have some options. I would subtract x from both sides, but you also could have subtracted 4 first. If I then subtract 4, like my order says, x is 5/2. Now it wants us to solve an inequality. Remember, inequality is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, greater than, less than. Again, I want to combine like terms first. It's always better that way. Makes it simpler. So I've got 4x minus 7 greater than or equal to 11 minus 5x. I'm going to add 5x to both sides. I like my variable on the left, so I choose to do that first. Add 7. 9x greater than or equal to 18. Divide by 9. X greater than or equal to 2. On my number line, I'm going to do a closed circle on 2 and put my arrow to the right because I want to be greater than or equal to the number 2. Numbers greater than 2 are to the right, and I'm coloring in the circle because it was equal to. Well, here we have another equation. So let's see, I'm going to combine like terms on the left side, so the 8x and the positive x to get me 9x minus 12 equals, and I'm going to distribute the 3 on the right side to get me 9x minus 12 plus 1. I'm going to combine my like terms here to get me 9x minus 12 equals 9x minus 11. And you could recognize right here that the answer is no solution. Or if you don't, you can take it one step further and subtract 9x from both sides to see that negative 12 is not equal to negative 11, still resulting in no solution. Either of that is fine. Again, you need to show your work up until the 9x minus 12. Again, if you just put the answer and don't show any work, you're not going to get full credit. Here it says explain the error. The error comes with the way end. We've done a couple of problems like this. This person divides by negative 12 on both sides, but doesn't flip the inequality symbol. So the error is that they forgot to flip the inequality symbol, whoever the student is. So it says correct the answer, which would be x is less than 1 instead of greater than 1. Here it just wants you to write some inequality statements. So here it says the temperature in the refrigerator, so T, must be kept at or below 38. So at or below is less than or equal to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Second one here says the circumference of the Major League Baseball is at least 9 inches. Remember, at least is greater than or equal to. I like to think of that amusement park example, right? You must be at least 48 inches to ride the Ferris wheel. Can you be 40? Yes. Can you be taller than 48? Yes. Can you be shorter than 48 to get on the Ferris wheel? No, that does not work. So at least means greater than or equal to. And the last one here says the maximum speed, so S, on the highway is 55 miles per hour. So maximum means that's the highest that you can go. So it means less than or equal to. Here we have another equation to solve. So this one is a little different than most of our other ones. I need to get rid of this denominator first. Denominators signify division. Opposite operation of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 8, leaving me with 2x minus 2 equals 80. I'm then going to add 2 to both sides. 2x equals 82. Divide by 2. X is 41. This is considered one solution, and when it asks what's the one solution, you should write x equals 41. Another word problem here. Here it says a painting company A charges a consult fee of $70 plus $45 an hour. Company B charges $100 plus $35 an hour. It says let H represent the number of hours of painting the company will paint. And so write an equation. So I'm going to say for company A, it's 70 plus 45H. And it wants to know here when they're going to be the same, they're going to have the same cost. So that's going to equal the cost of 100 plus 35H, right? I want to know when they're the same. The same means equal. I can then solve this equation for H. So I'm going to subtract 35H. 70 plus 15H equals 100. Minus 70 minus 70. Oops, it's not 15, it's 10. That's why we show all our work, because if we make little mistakes like that, I can give more partial credit. Also, that's why we use a calculator to avoid those kind of mistakes. So I'm left with 10H equals 30. Divide both sides by 10. H equals 3. So, which company will be cheaper long term? Remember, long term means after they're the same. So like H equals 4 or H equals 5, I'm going to use H equals 4. So company A is going to be 70 plus 45 times 4. And like we said, use our Desmos calculator to avoid mistakes. 180, 70 plus 180. 250. So for 4 hours, company A is 250. Let's see about company B. That's going to be 100 plus, let's see, 35 times 4. 140. So that's actually equal to 240. So company B is cheaper long term. And let's see, short term means before they're the same. So I'm going to use like H equals 1. That's the easiest one to use here. So company A, 70 plus 45 times 1. That's 70 plus 45. 115. And then company B, 100 plus 35 times 1. That math I can do in my head. That's 100 plus 35, 135. So company A is cheaper short term. And that is the end of the study guide. Please make sure you make your corrections on paper and submit them with the Desmos activity on Google Classroom. Best of luck on your test.